What's next?
Cool. Next is Robert Mullins. He says, "You're not alone in your appreciation for the 2016 Ghostbusters. I enjoyed it too, although I didn't love it or anything like that. It was decent enough. Anyway, I wanted to know your thoughts on the recent Leslie Jones comment slamming the new Ghostbusters coming out. Do you think she was justified, or do you think she was out of line? Thanks, and bring on the filthy." What do you think, John?
Oh, boy. Okay, so buckle up. First of all, let me set the context for this. The 2016 Ghostbusters is coming out. It's coming out. It hadn't yet come out. And besides the fact that it was maybe the worst first trailer in history for a movie. Remember that when it was just all referencing the original Ghostbusters?
Oh, yeah.
And it turned everybody off. I was excited for this movie because I thought, first of all, I think Paul Feig is a really good director. And by the way, his movie, A Simple Favor from 2018, brilliant. I'm telling you guys, if you have not seen that movie yet, check out A Simple Favor. It is wonderful. Anyway, you had Paul Feig directing it. You had this brilliant cast, one of which is Leslie Jones, of just wonderfully brilliant comedic talents in there. And I was excited for it. Now, I went to go see the movie, and I liked it. I thought it was funny. I also had some major problems with it, but overall, I thought it was an entertaining movie. I had a good amount of laughs in it personally. Did it even come close to the quality of the original Ghostbusters? No, of course not, but I don't think anybody was expecting that. But I appreciate it. And I'll tell you what, I think Leslie Jones is a comedic gold mine. I love her on SNL, and I really liked her in Ghostbusters. I enjoyed her performance in Ghostbusters. I am a fan of Leslie Jones, all right? So that's to set the context here. Of course, you guys know that last week was announced that Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman and a world-class director in his own right, was going to come and direct a new Ghostbusters series, getting back to the original film's continuity. The 2016 was a reboot. It kind of did away with the old Ghostbusters. It was a reboot. Now they're going to kind of reboot again, but by getting back to the original timeline, right? Jason Reitman himself has gotten on Twitter and social media, talked about his appreciation for the 2016 film. He really likes that movie, blah, blah, blah. Well, Leslie Jones gets on social media, and she's not happy about it, Robert.
No, I read this.
And she put out this. Check this out. Leslie Jones talked about this. Does she say, "You know what? Congrats to Jason Reitman for this new adventure. I'm honored to be a part of this franchise and the history now." No, this is what Leslie Jones says. "So insulting. Like, fuck us. We didn't count. It's like something Trump would do. Trump voice, gonna redo Ghostbusters. Better with men. It will be huge. Those women ain't Ghostbusters. Ugh, so annoying. Such a dick move. And I don't give a fuck. I'm saying something." All right. So let me just read that top line again. So insulting. So insulting. Like, fuck us. We didn't count. All right. Here's the thing. I get particularly disappointed. Like, I'll get annoyed when somebody, some celebrity or somebody big in the movie industry does something dumb. But I get particularly disappointed and annoyed when it's somebody I respect. And it's somebody who I consider myself a fan of. And it's somebody whose work I appreciate. And now look, remember this too. Make no mistake about it. There will be some morons, stick your head in the sand deniers on this. The amount of sexist and racist garbage Leslie Jones had to deal with when that first thing came out. I remember reading through the tweets.
It was horrific.
That she ultimately had to just shut her Twitter down and get off Twitter for a while.
Yes.
It was disgusting. It's one of those moments that you just are a little bit embarrassed to be a part of the human race. The amount of abuse she took at that point was unforgivable. It was unforgivable. And so one can a little bit, kind of like a villain origin in a comic book movie, you can kind of understand how she became a little bit jaded.
Right.
And a little bit upset and a little bit annoyed about the whole thing. I get it. So let me just say that all up front, okay? But there is no excuse, Robert. There is no excuse for this entitled actor to get on here and complain about what she's entitled to. I'm owed. This is insulting because you can't feel insulted unless you think you are owed and you think you're entitled. Leslie Jones gets on social media and acts like she's entitled, she is owed. I am Ghostbusters now. that you take this away from me. Never mind the fact that you scrapped the other timeline to make my movie. How dare you scrap my timeline to make another movie? That's called hypocrisy. That's called hypocrisy right there. And by the way, newsflash, Leslie Jones, your movie flopped. This isn't like Ghostbusters came out in 2016 and made $750 million, and everybody's going to stand around and go, whoa, wait a minute, they're not going to make a sequel to that? I liked your movie. I gave your movie a positive review, but the reality is your movie flopped and cost the studio tens, if not $100 million losses. That's the scenario here, Leslie. For you to come out here and say, oh, this is an insult to me. Newsflash. This ain't you, and this ain't the universe, okay? This isn't about you, Leslie. Nobody's insulting you. Nobody is giving you a hard time. Nobody is saying you don't count. Newsflash, you're an actor. Know your place. More actors need to know their place. You are a hired piece of labor to come in and perform a job that you are uniquely skilled to do and that only you can do to a certain degree, but that doesn't make the movie yours. And it doesn't mean the universe owes you. And it doesn't mean the studio owes you. You know what you're owed? You're owed a paycheck. You're owed a paycheck. And a good paycheck. And you got that paycheck. But that didn't suddenly make this property belong to you. You made a movie. They took a risk on it. They tried something different. And I applaud it, and I like the results. But that didn't mean suddenly the universe became indebted to you and that you were owed something and this franchise belongs to you. Not at all. Your movie flopped. So what is the studio supposed to do? Well, let's make another flop. No, they've got a valuable IP in Ghostbusters. They know they don't want to abandon the Ghostbusters IP, but they recognize, hey, we rolled the dice. We took a gamble to try something a little bit different. We got some ridiculously talented people involved, including both behind the camera and in front of the director, in front of the camera. And it didn't work. We failed. We lost money. The film flopped. Okay, well, let's try something different. Let's try going back to the original kind of stuff and try that. And then for an actor to come out and say, this is insulting to me, just makes me want to go, especially, and I wouldn't be nearly as bothered by this if I wasn't a fan and I didn't appreciate her work so much, but I do, and it just bothers me when I see smart people doing stupid things, and this is stupid, and it makes all performers and actors, and by association, everybody, all the talented people who made that film with her, it makes them look like they're petty and everything too, because she said something this dumb. Anyway, I'm a little bit bothered by this. Robert, you hear all this. What's your response?
First of all, dude, that was an epic rant. Let me just say, I'm proud to be sitting next to you, and I too am a huge fan of Leslie Jones.
She's hilarious.
I still dream. Leslie Jones is also a huge Game of Thrones fan.
Yes, she is.
And whenever I see her, like she sits down with somebody to watch Game of Thrones, I was hoping that HBO would have a Leslie Jones hosted Game of Thrones event at Madison Square Garden, where they would show the first 90-minute episode or however long it is of this 8th season, and Leslie Jones would host, and we'd all watch it, and then she would come out and do. I just want to hear what she thinks. Like, I want to hear. But yes, so to me, I too thought this was really in poor taste. I mean, look, I worked on Superman Returns. I watched people work on that movie for 2 years, and no one put more into that movie than Brandon Routh himself, who played Clark Kent and Superman. And, that would be like him going on Twitter or something when Man of Steel was released and complain that, I spent 2 years of my life and my hopes and dreams putting this movie, and he never would do something like that. I don't think any actor would do something like that. And it really is Ivan Reitman, Jason Reitman's father, started the Ghostbusters franchise.
Yes.
I mean, they originated that. I do think that this is in poor form. But, on the other hand, I would just speak, Leslie Jones is a comedian. And the only thing I would say is maybe, I don't doubt that she would be upset because of what she had to put up with, as you brought up, horrific amounts of online abuse when
unforgivable.
Not just her, but everybody.
Stuff, yeah.
All the actresses in the new
yeah.
Ghostbusters movie. That was an incredible comedic collection of some of the most deft comedians we have working in film and television today.
Yes,
great group, and they all had to put up with horrible abuse for being in a movie that's a comedy that they're trying to bring back a moribund franchise. We hadn't seen a movie since 1989. They bring it back and everybody screams and yells at them. But this maybe what she was saying had a tinge of sarcasm.
Dude, I don't know. Like, let's bring up that quote again. I first of all, I hope you're right because I am a fan of this. Bring up that quote again, Jonathan. So, but because when you get down to the bottom of the quote, it's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm saying something. Like, she's like, I didn't take anything from this that was her in jest.
Right,
and
I know.
What she should have said, because I'm sorry, did I miss, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I must have missed Rick Moranis' tweet when they announced the 2016 Ghostbusters. Rick Moranis saying, "This is an insult to me. Do I not count? Do my films not matter?" No, of course he didn't do that. What Leslie should have done is she wanted to get on Twitter. She should have gone on and said, hey, congratulations, Jason Reitman. I'm so thrilled to be a part of the long-term legacy of the Ghostbusters franchise and blah, blah. Can't wait to see what you do next. I mean, that would have been the classic. This thing coming out, tearing apart these people. Now Jason Reitman, poor Jason Reitman, is like, this is my legacy. My dad created Ghostbusters. And again, one of the parts that really gets me is the hypocrisy of this. Because to do the 2016 Ghostbusters meant you had to go, okay, we are going to take the existing Ghostbusters and set it aside, which was fine. They were rolling the dice. They wanted to try something. I respect that. And I like the results. But to make that Ghostbusters, you say, we're going to take the other form of Ghostbusters, package it up, and push it aside for now, and do this new. For you now to complain that your version of Ghostbusters is now also getting packaged up, put aside for now, maybe permanently, maybe not, so they can do another thing with Ghostbusters. To complain about that is hypocrisy. And and again, so you got this thing dripping with entitlement, dripping with it's all about them, and dripping with a hypocrisy, because I didn't hear you complaining that, no, we shouldn't make this 2016 Ghostbusters because it means insulting those other Ghostbusters. Didn't hear you say that then, so why is it the case now? And again, I just want to reaffirm one more time, I wouldn't be nearly as upset about this if it wasn't coming from somebody that I think that I'm really entertained by. And I'm really entertained by Leslie Jones. I think she's hilarious, but I just, there's no excusing this. And I think she's going to regret this. Because, by the way, Robert, here's the thing. Let's say I am a big Hollywood, big-time producer, right? You would know more about this than me. But let's say I'm a big Hollywood producer. Am I ever going to want to work with Leslie Jones? Because is she talented? Yes. But oh my God, if I ever do something with my property that she doesn't like and she worked on it with me once, is she going to get online and start tearing apart whatever I'm doing next? I don't know that I want to take that risk. I don't, like, you are much more of a filmmaker than I ever will be. Like, so would something like this public outburst against a studio and a property she has worked with, would this give you pause to work with her in the future? Or maybe no, maybe I'm overthinking that.
I've had this experience. I worked on a show that I was directing for HBO and Cinemax called Femme Fatales. And I cast an actress in a role. Not only did I cast her in a role, I brought her back for another episode. And I had put some footage of some of that show up in my director's reel. And her career took a turn, but she's developed a much bigger following doing other things. She wrote me a note saying she would appreciate it if I took down the footage of her from the show that I directed. And I'm like, wow, I brought this actress back for, now it was a show I can understand why she might not. It was a late night Skinamax HBO show, but I put my heart and soul into those episodes. And when she wrote me this letter saying she didn't appreciate me putting up footage that she was in, I'm like, I brought you back a second time. We brought your character back. I liked working with you so much that I brought you back again, and she like threw this back in my face.
But she didn't get on social media and publicize it to the world.
No, she didn't get it on, but she did send it. I mean, I don't remember if it was publicly, that message was publicly available. But what it really made me feel like, you know what? Well, I'll never work with her again, ever. I don't care how big she gets. And I was like, that kind of stuff, you know, we're all working to build our careers.
Yes.
And when somebody throws something like that back in your face, you know what? That to me, that there goes a bridge that you'll never cross ever again, at least not with me on the other side waving at you, because that ain't going to happen.
All right. Well, we spent a lot of time on this topic, so let's go on to something happier. Let's do another topic. What's next, Ashley?
All right. Well, can I just say, though,
Yes.
as a female in the industry and an actor in the industry, I'm gonna say what I think a lot of females are probably arguing with her point. I disagree with how she went about it and everything, but I don't know if she was saying it was insulting her personally. Maybe she was, but I think that as women right now are fighting an uphill battle towards equality in the industry, and this film was kind of a symbol, along with a couple other films, coming out during this movement that's going on. And I feel that her feelings are coming from a place of, this is a symbol. Everyone's excited. They're trying to show women in a badass position, flop or not. Like it was a film that was showing women coming to an equal measure in the industry, that we can also be in the same roles as men. And then to immediately make another film and try to sweep it under the rug I think this film is a bigger symbol of what's going on in the industry, rather than just an actor being entitled and wanting she deserves a paycheck. You're doing a job. I understand all that, but I think where she's coming from is the symbolism of this Ghostbusters film.
Sure, and I would appreciate that to a much bigger degree. We got a Captain Marvel movie coming. We have our second Wonder Woman movie coming. We have all these things. But where I have a problem with that comes from the point of the stuff she says in that social media made it sound like we're getting rid of you because you're women and because you're actresses, when the reality is they didn't get rid of Wonder Woman. Why? Because it was financially successful. Mm-hmm. They're going to do Captain Marvel. Why? Because they believe it can be financially successful. Sony, I think, should be applauded for the fact that they rolled the dice and did something so radically different by recasting, by doing a brand new Ghostbusters, but instead of saying it's an all-boys club, let's make it an all-female cast. And they tried it and they did it, and I think they should be applauded for that, and I actually like the results. But the word we keep seeing here is industry. Industry. As an industry, you got to be able to step back and say, okay, the movie lost that studio a lot of money.
Definitely, yeah.
And so we're going to make a choice. This is the same studio that chose to make the 2016 Ghostbusters in the first place. We now need to make a choice. Well, this didn't work for us, so we need to do something different. So we're going to bring in the legacy Jason Reitman. We're going to put it back into the timeline of the original Ghostbusters. And who's to say it's not going to be a half female cast or a half whatever? I mean, who's to say? We simply don't know. I'm sure it's not the original gang, Venkman and the boys, getting all back together again, since I don't even think Bill Murray even wants much to do with this project in the first place. But who's to say that that's not going to be there? Again, I would have a lot more sympathy. Actually, I would be not just more sympathetic, I would be raising my eyebrow with Leslie Jones had this movie made $550 million.
Right.
And it's like, wait a minute. Justify to me why you're scrapping this 2016 thing, because it had a bunch of people like it and it made money. You better give me a damn good reason why you're just throwing it. But it lost them tons of money. Worldwide, this movie made $220 million. The losses probably were in excess of $100 million in losses. You can't make another one. You can't. You just simply can't. And I think Leslie Jones, as a professional in this industry, should not be trying to change the issue here and camouflage the issue by saying, this is about the fact that we're women and they don't want to make movies about women. This is the studio that made your movie in the first place. Of course they're interested in that. You cannot just brush under and make it an afterthought and just pick up the rub and sweep it under that the film lost the studio in excess of $100 million. That's not an afterthought. That's not a small detail. There is no way Sony could make another one. But Ghostbusters is a valuable, recognizable IP. You can't also just take the Ghostbusters IP and put it on the shelf. So what do? Do you make a sequel to the 2016 film that I liked, but that lost you $100 million? Or do you try something different and go legacy, bring in Jason Reitman, and go back to the original storyline? And I think what they did was a very reasonable, rational, financially sound decision, just like I thought they made that decision for the 2016 film originally. And it didn't work. And I think Leslie Jones, as a professional, has to be able to go, don't change the topic. Your movie flopped. Don't pretend this is about the fact that it had women in it. Sony made your movie in the first place. It's not like they don't want to make movies with women in it. They stepped on that ledge, they rolled the dice, and guess what? We got more movies coming that are increasing that movement. We are ending the agenda of keeping women out of big roles. We are starting to get rid of the agenda that keeps minority out of major roles. We are seeing that process start. It just concerns me that outbursts like this could hurt this movement we see moving towards ending the exclusion of women in big parts, ending the exclusion of minority in big parts. We're seeing some progress, but it's not always going to go one way.
Well, I hear both of your points too. I think you made a very, very valid point. But, again, this isn't show friends. It's show business. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem, I think this is a perfect example of we see a lot of this outrage culture. It's kind of like how the social sciences in colleges are being taken over by political agendas, and they're not looking at science when they should. And like you pointed out, this is really about money.
Yes.
Hollywood, look, for all of its inclusion, for all of its, if it didn't work, if Black Panther didn't make $700 million domestically and it didn't work, it would have been seen as a failure, and we wouldn't have been able to talk about the inclusion and the things. The fact that it worked is all that matters. The fact that it made money, nobody cares about your political agendas or anything when it comes to movies. They just care about the box office.
And if they lose.
And if they lose.
And that's
I mean, the fact that we get these movies that make money proves to marketing people who only can go by what's worked in the past. When something new works, they're like, oh, then you can go back and go, see, you were wrong all the time. The idea that a movie headlined by minorities, at least in the United States, can make that much money proves that you can no longer say, well, these movies traditionally haven't made a lot of money. That's wrong now. You had a huge explanation of that and why it was wrong. We saw that. Now we're going to see more movies like that. That's all that matters. Once something makes money, that's all anybody cares about.
You can't do female lead superhero movies that won't make money. Wonder Woman. You can't do minority-led superhero movies that won't make money. Black Panther.
You can't make movies with an all-Asian cast.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Crazy Rich Asians.
I mean, all of those ideas have been shattered. They have been shattered. They're not real. You just have to find the right material and the right actors and the right filmmaking team and make great films. And all of those, and we're seeing them. We are seeing these things shattered weekly, monthly, yearly. Look at the box office of the last 2 years and what has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. We live in a world now where the more inclusion, and is it done? No.
And
we have a
we have a
long way to go. But it's better now than it's ever been at that level.
Yeah, I agree. And look, and again, let me say this too. It's a little bit like a supervillain origin story when you look at the unexcusable abuse that the whole cast of Ghostbusters took at the time.
It was disgusting.
Including Leslie Jones. But again, I just think in this particular instance, you got to gauge the context, understand what the real issues are, and not pretend that the issue is something else. Sony didn't scrap the 2016 franchise because they didn't want to work with women in lead roles. Clearly they didn't. They wanted that movie to make money. They wanted to do all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it is what it is, and I think it's a really unfortunate situation. Anyway, we spent about a half hour on this topic. So
fascinating.
It was important.
It is an important one. I'm sure the
Yeah.
discussion's not over, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I can guarantee that, Mr. Mansplainer. What's up?
I am in agreement with you guys, though. Just to be clear, she should have kept that maybe just to her friend group and not put it on Twitter.
Or sent a private email to
Yeah,
somebody saying, hey, what the hell?
You didn't need to say that out loud.
No,